Alright, what's up? I think I left off before, it was right around before I got married, before I moved in with my wife's family. So she's working as a masseuse at this massage place, but got accused of like stealing money. So she quit that place, but there was this other girl who was working there with her who said she had her own like clientele, so they were like doing massages in my room, and then she's like, yeah, you're gonna get me a room, or you're gonna get me an office so we can do our massages there. And she calls me out to go talk to her friend, and her friend's kind of like not looking at me and like telling me that she has like her own clientele and all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't have the money. I'm not gonna have the money until like April or something. And she's like, no. Anyway, I ended up getting an office for her, and I'm like, oh, we'll try and sell aromatherapy too. So my mom sends me like $1,000 worth of aromatherapy stuff. Only problem is when it gets to Chile, I had to pay like $400 just to get it released, man. I didn't know that they have these weird tariffs on stuff. So anyway, but I was in there, and she was doing okay I think we were there for 2 months. She was doing okay the first couple of months, but then the magazine that she was using to get clients went out of business, so she had no way to like get clients and stuff. And originally I was kind of going to try and use that area too to teach English, and I did a few classes, but I was kind of to try and work for myself. I think I was doing kind of classes for other institutes, but I was kind of trying to avoid that because I really wanted to teach English for myself. I had the opportunity to do an interview for a really good institute, but I ended up not going. But I told my friend about it, and he got a job there and worked there for like 3 years. Yeah, so we were there, but then my friend, I guess he wanted to like open up an English teaching institute or something, so he goes there, and he had to like make sure that the person who rents out the apartment is like legal or something. So he did some research, and it turned out that the guy I was renting our office room from, which is really well located in the center there, actually wasn't the real owner. So then he called the real owner, and it turned out that the real owner was like had sublet it to the guy we were paying it to, but the guy never paid him. But for some reason, the guy now had legal authority over it, even though he never paid him any rent money at all. So we were paying the other guy who wasn't the real owner. It was like really confusing. So anyways, yeah, we like abandoned that, and I kind of abandoned the whole aromatherapy stuff too, selling the oils, and she was like using the massages and stuff. But because when I moved into her house, I like decided that there was no way that I could live in a house that was like totally a disaster area. And at that time, her father was kicked out, and so I used that opportunity to clean out the house, because the house was covered with trash. Oh, I forgot to go on Google Earth and see how big the house was. But their terrain was maybe 40 feet. 40 feet by maybe 100 feet or something of area. And they have a gate, a wall and a gate, because like the whole block is like one building that's all connected, you know. Nobody has a front lawn except for the front sidewalk, and then maybe a little strip that should be grass, but it's just dirt. Yeah, because if you put plants out in front of your house, they'll get robbed. I found that out. I planted a bunch of plants out in front of my house in Bellavista, and somebody uprooted all of my plants, my rose bush, all of my plants. So, anyways, so yeah, and that's when I had the Mini. I spent like a month fixing up this Mini, and her father would fix it, but he rebuilt the engine like 4 times and the transmission like 4 times, but every time I got back in it and I drove it, it would go about 4 days and then it would break down. And then I'd pay him all over again to fix it, but he never got it right. So then we eventually got this other guy because he had a bunch of minis there to fix it, and he took it apart for like $150. But then after he took it apart, he said that he would charge like 10 times, like 5 times more than he originally said he would charge to put it back together. So we ended up just taking the car back in pieces and paying him, what he charged to take it apart, but not to put it back together. So now I had a dismantled car. But then, this isn't in sequential order, but this is the story of the car. So then my wife's brother-in-law, my wife's brother's sister's husband, my wife's brother's wife's husband, had his own business where he imports engines from Japan. He's a really cool guy. And he knew this. He had a friend who lived 3 hours south of Santiago or something, in some small town, who said he would put the engine together. So we jumped in the truck, and we drove the Mini all the way down there, and we hung out with him and all of his mechanic buddies, drinking alcohol, getting all drunk for all night. And then we drove home, and that guy ended up having my car for a year, about a year. But he never did anything to the car. So anyway, my wife's brother-in-law ended up driving down there and picking it up and bringing it back to the house, where as far as I know, it still sits. Her brother was going to buy it from me. He never paid me, so I don't know what's going on with that Mini yet. But it looked really cool because it was painted, but we had to paint the car over 4 times because I guess her father, my wife's father, he had a paint gun and everything, but he didn't really know how to paint the car because the car was made out of, it's not made out of steel. There's lots of Minis that are made out of steel, but my Mini it was actually even lighter than steel. It was made out of fiberglass. The entire car was made out of fiberglass. So but it also meant that when you paint it, the paint would bubble up on it. But it still looked pretty good. So anyway, yeah, when I first moved into the house, I got a job. I put myself to work fixing up the house because I couldn't live in. One of the reasons I didn't want to live in the house because it was just a hellhole. Because it was the whole house was filled with trash. In Spanish, it's called cachurero. It's just wood and metal and old bikes and old car parts and dirt and rocks and just totally. Plus, there were 2 cars back there that were totally broken down and I wanted to get rid of that stuff, but her father didn't want to get rid of it because he was convinced he'd be able to sell it, but he would just been accumulating that stuff for the last 30 years that they lived there. But then he got kicked out one night because I guess one night her mom was screaming her head off. Oh, he hit me! I guess she says that he threw her on the ground and was kicking her and stuff. But then when we all ran in the kitchen, he was just kind of sitting there all mellow, and he wasn't even drunk because he's usually really drunk. He'll drink because he's such a drunk. I guess it doesn't take him much to get totally drunk, but he'd get really drunk and then bang his fists on the table and scream really loud songs like Frank Sinatra, and he had a really powerful voice. I guess from all those years of singing and really loud, he developed his vocal cords like leather, and you could hear him from 3 blocks away. And so everybody in the whole neighborhood knew him just from his voice, because he'd also like to sing out in the streets and stuff. And and he'd also disappear and get drunk, and then pass out in the fish market and stuff with homeless people, and then he'd wake up and supposedly $300 would be missing. He claimed he had $300, $200 in his pocket. Why he had that much, I don't know. I guess he always went out whenever he got paid from some mechanic job or something, but I don't know if it was that much. We said it was the cops who took the money, but yeah, so he's all, so then he was sitting in my Mini, and then she calls her son, because my wife has 3 brothers, and one of them the one who doesn't live there, 2 of them live there, in my wife's house. It was a 2-bedroom house that's built out of bricks. That used to be a bus station or something where people would stop, buy tickets for buses that used to go by there, or a train station because there used to be a train or something hundreds of years ago or something. But Anyway, it was just like a 2-bedroom house. Oh, whoops, I'm out of time.